thanks Shreya, and namaskar to all of our friends here. I think Shreya picked up my intro straight from Wikipedia, and that's why it's incomplete. So, well, let me just give me a little bit more about my background. So I am basically a marine engineer who also was interested in a lot of things. So that's classical music part is just one of them. Besides that, I've also done a bit of economics, a bit of law, and a bit of software. So, and I have also been involved in cricket administration a good deal. So I was president and secretary of Rajasthan Cricket Association for some time. Anyway, now this topic which Shreyas has chosen for me, I don't know whether Shreyas has chosen or all of you have chosen collectively. It's a topic which is, I think, going around these days quite a lot. But when you say how India should engage with the Islamic world, that creates a little bit of problem for me because the definition of Islamic world is very wide. Now, if we were to say that, okay, Islamic world, how do you define Islamic world? And we say that, okay, these are the members of the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries, and how we should engage with them, the answer would be very simple. That as countries engage with each other, that is on the basis of their national interest. That's all, and that's how countries interact with each other. But when you say Islamic world, then you have to consider that India has been engaging with this Islamic world for nearly 1400 years, because the first mosque in India was constructed in 629 AD or CE as the modern term is, in Cochin, while Prophet Muhammad was still alive. He died in 632 AD. So I wouldn't go into the Islamic history because we don't have time. I very well can, but we don't have time. So what I'll do is I'll start from the 20th century, how it all started in 20th century. That of course you had the modernization movement among the Muslims after the 1857 revolt or rebellion, or as some people would like to say, the first war of India's independence. And Sir Syed Ahmad Khan established the Anglo-Mohammedan College in Aligarh, which later became the Aligarh Muslim University, and was taken over under the Government of India, I think in 1918, if I'm not wrong. You can correct me on facts. And of course it was subsumed under the Indian Parliament by virtue of the operation of the Constitution of India, Article 362, I think, which validated all the pre-independence acts. However, this concept of the Islamic world as a separate world within India, though it dates back to the Islamic scriptures, but it was given currency at the turn of the 20th century by Allama Iqbal. मेरे ख्याल से इकबाल के बारे में आप लोगों ने सबने सुना होगा. सुना है? कोई ऐसा है जिसने नहीं सुना? ओके. आपने वो तराना सुना है, वो सारे जहाँ से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा? ओके. तो वो सारे जहाँ से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा इकबाल साहब ने लिखा था 1902 में. और 1902 के बाद उन्होंने, Are you okay with Hindi and English both? I mean, I am comfortable in both, so not an issue.
Numerals in English and the rest in Hindi.
Okay. Anyway, I'll speak in English, which is, I think, the right now the national lingo as far as the students are concerned. तो 1902 में इकबाल साहब ने ये तराना लिखा जिसको कौमी तराना बोलते हैं, which is very popular in India, and I think all of us love to sing it from time to time, and that is also given out as an evidence of our what is called Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb or communal amity or whatever. I mean, you can describe it in so many synonyms. But this very gentleman, within 10 years, he changed colors. And he overturned his Qawmi Tarana, and then he wrote what is called a Milli Tarana. Millat or Ummat in Urdu is the wider Islamic community. So he wrote a Milli Tarana saying that Sara Jahan Hamara. Or that was basically the first time that in public discourse, in modern public discourse, the concept of Ummat and Millat was publicly propounded. And that also is the precursor of the two-nation theory. Then what happened was that there was this advent of Mahatma Gandhi into India. He came to India in 1916. I think last year we celebrated 100 years of his coming back to India. And there was this First World War in which the Caliphate, which is also translated as Khilafat in Urdu, that came under attack from the Allied forces in the First World War. आप लोगों में से कोई हिस्ट्री का स्टूडेंट है? Anybody? मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री का कोई स्टूडेंट नहीं है? Privately, okay. We have a difficult task. तो उस वक्त पे मौलाना आज़ाद, आप सभी लोगों ने सुना होगा मौलाना आज़ाद के बारे में. He was also the first education minister of India, is also part of Congress. He was in fact from 1940 to 1946 he was president of the Congress, and various things that happened during the just after the First World War which led to Indian independence. He was very much part of that. मौलाना आज़ाद ने उस वक्त पे खिलाफत आंदोलन लीड किया था, एंड वी स्टिल रिमेंबर एट दैट टाइम ही सेड कि अगर तुर्की में और मिस्र में, यू नो मिस्र, ओके, अगर तुर्की और मिस्र में हमारे किसी भाई के पैर में कांटा भी लग जाता है तो हमें भी उतनी तकलीफ़ होनी चाहिए जिसको उतनी होती है. So that is what the concept of ummat or millat is, which in Arabic they call it ummah. If you're reading English, then they would be coming across this term ummah. But ummah is basically Arabic. हमारे यहाँ भी आजकल वो हो गया है ना कि साहब लोग बाग जो हैं वो उर्दू भूल गए हैं. Nobody reads Urdu. Anybody knows Urdu here? Little bit? Okay. Huh? Good. I come from Lucknow. I made an effort to study Urdu, and I can read and write and speak Urdu. And that was totally private initiative. तो आजकल तो ये हो गया है कि लोग बाग भूल गए हैं कि साहब कि उर्दू में क्या होता है, और दे कॉपी अरबिक और रमज़ान नहीं बोलते, रमदान बोलना शुरू कर देते हैं विदाउट रियलाइजिंग दैट ये रमदान तो वो बेचारे अरबिक इसलिए बोलते हैं क्योंकि उनकी लैंग्वेज में वो साउंड नहीं है, the sound of da is not there, so they call it Ramadan. So in English everywhere you read Ramadan because that's how the British or the Western world interacts with the Arabs, so they write Ramadan. और यहाँ भी नकल करके सारे के सारे जो रमज़ान बोल सकते हैं वो भी रमदान बोलते हैं। तो इसी तरह से ये उम्मा है जिसको उम्मत बोलते हैं, मिल्लत बोलते हैं। मैं इसलिए थोड़ा डिटेल में इससे जा रहा हूँ क्योंकि बिकॉज नन ऑफ यू हैव अ बैकग्राउंड इन हिस्ट्री, सो आई एम जस्ट गोइंग इनटू द डिटेल्स अ लिटिल बिट। सो आउट ऑफ दिस वाज बॉर्न द टू नेशन थियरी, because if ummat is one community, then obviously there has to be the other community, and they said that these are two different nations. Anybody has any idea of two nation theory? कोई बताएगा मुझको? बताइए साहब, two nation theory.
They propose those who want to live in India.
No, that is not the theory. That is the consequence.
Sir, the two-nation theory was by amongst Jinnah and all that. The Muslim League propounded that the Muslim community needed a separate nation, not affiliated with the Muslims. They had a nation of their own. And the Hindus were a separate nation and the Muslims were a separate nation. There were two nations.
Okay, partly correct, that Muslims and Hindus are two different nations, but it wasn't limited to that. They are not just different nations. The Muslims and Hindus in the Indian subcontinent are two separate and equal nations. Now, why I am emphasizing on the word equal is that the present problems that you have with Pakistan are rooted in this concept of equality. हम लोग सब सोचते हैं कि भाई इनको क्या हुआ, पार्टीशन हो गया, टू नेशन थ्योरी थी, अलग इन्होंने कंट्री बना ली, मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी एरिया थे वो अपने पास ले लिए, हमारे पास कटा पिटा हिंदुस्तान रह गया, और उसके बाद भी इनको पता नहीं क्या प्रॉब्लम है कि ये रोज़ तमाशा करते रहते हैं, टेररिस्ट भेजते रहते हैं, सब करते रहते हैं। तो दैट प्रॉब्लम इज रूटेड इन दैट इक्वालिटी बिट। आज भी आई रिमेंबर जी पारसारथी टेलिंग अस sometime that when he went to Pakistan as an ambassador, because we have this great fellow feeling here and every time we say that okay, हम लोग तो एक ही माटी के लोग हैं, हम लोग तो एक ही लोग हैं. So he was advised when he went to Islamabad that see, all bonhomie and all interactions and all parties and everything is fine, but never ever mention to anybody that we are people from the same stock, because that is something that is sure to create hostility against you. वो क्यों होता है? वो इसलिए होता है क्योंकि जिसको पाकिस्तानी खुद इसका मजाक उड़ाते हैं, बोलते हैं नज़रिया पाकिस्तान. नज़रिया पाकिस्तान क्या है? नज़रिया पाकिस्तान ये है कि Hindus and Muslims are two separate but equal nations, and when the reality stares them in the face and they find that they are reduced to about 1/6 of the area, because the two nation theory actually died the day Bangladesh was born. So that two nation theory, that brotherhood, that ummat, one community, that whole thing was over the day Bangladesh was born. So even on a theoretical plane, the two nation theory should have been discarded, but it hasn't been discarded because it's very easy to build conspiracy theories कि हम तो एक थे, ये तो इंडिया की बदमाशी थी, इंडिया की षड्यंत्र था, इन्होंने हमारे बीच में ये डिफरेंसेस क्रिएट किए और इन्होंने बांग्लादेश को तोड़ा. अगर ये बांग्लादेश में अपनी फ़ौज नहीं भेजते तो ये बांग्लादेश हमसे कभी आज़ाद नहीं होता. बट ऑफ कोर्स दैट्स अ सेपरेट स्टोरी व्हाई बांग्लादेश वाज क्रिएटेड. Basically, it was created, one of the main reason was language and the oppression of your Western Punjabi elite. तो मौलाना आज़ाद जो कि उम्मत के हिमायती थे 1916 से और 1924 के बीच में, और जिन्ना साहब जो थे वो पूरी तरह से एक सेक्युलर आदमी होते थे. He used to love his wines, he used to love his sausages, he used to eat pork. और दूसरी तरफ हमारे मौलाना आज़ाद थे, who was born in Mecca, who was born in a family of clerics, and he was a trained Muslim scholar. He started out with Ummat, and in 1947 he was advocating United India, and the secular Jinnah in 1947 was talking of a two-nation theory. So this is one of the great paradoxes of history. हालांकि उनके रीजंस अलग अलग थे. Jinnah's was a purely political project, and Maulana Azad was more a philosophical project. तो हमें जब इस्लामिक वर्ल्ड की हम बात करते हैं तो ये जानना बहुत ही ज़रूरी है दैट दिस काइंड ऑफ अ कॉन्सेप्ट एग्जिस्ट इन इस्लाम. And just across the border, the levels of education are very low. Their literacy rate is at about 56%. And out of those people, of course, these are also enrollment figures. So people who are well versed in affairs of Pakistan, they say that the total literacy is not more than 50% in any case, and out of those 50%, about half of them are going to madrasas. They are not going to a formal educational system. Now, how does it affect India? That is the question, because we would have thought that having conceded a separate country on the basis of two-nation theory, which we rejected but conceded, we would all be living happily ever after. In fact, that is how Sardar Patel and Jawaharlal Nehru sold the idea to Congress कि भाई भाइयों भाइयों में भी झगड़ा हो जाता है, तो जब झगड़ा हो जाता है तो आपस में बंटवारा करते हैं ना, बंटवारा करते हैं, बंटवारा करने के बाद फिर बाद में खुशी खुशी रहते हैं, दोनों तरक्की करते हैं. This is how partition was sold, not only to Congress but also to the Indian public. But that did not happen. That did not happen because Pakistan has always sought parity, it has always sought equality, and that difficulty with Pakistan increased after 1971 because till 1971 Pakistan was doing quite well economically, and a large part of that contribution used to come from the erstwhile East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. After 1971, they not only suffered that psychological shock of defeat, but also over the years as they Islamized more and more, and India became economically liberal, the distance started increasing, and today their economy is almost 1/10 of Indian economy, and they find that it's not possible for them to claim parity on the basis of either their economy or their development or their HDI or any of the parameters that people conventionally use. Therefore, Ziaul Haq in 1977 started that asymmetrical war, which is you find here in form of jihad everywhere. So that is how the relation with the Islamic world or the Ummat or the Millat developed in the 20th century. Now, what happened here later on was that while Pakistan started unraveling slowly, in India we made a fundamental mistake. And we made that fundamental mistake was that though in theory we rejected the two-nation theory, but in practice we seem to be paying obeisance to it even today. Article 370 is the foremost example of that, because Article 370 otherwise cannot be justified. Why would we give just one state which has acceded to you a special status which is not given to anybody else? And there are various factors, of course, we go into it detail, maybe you can ask questions on it, then we can go into it. And the second point which the Indian politicians did, and which happens when politicians get lazy, politics gets lazy, is that they outsourced the entire section of the largest minority in India to Maulanas and Maulvis, because by nature the community was conservative, so they found it very easy. It's very difficult to, if anybody has done social work, they know how to engage with people, how difficult it is, how time consuming it is, and how much it takes. But if you outsource it to somebody, okay, I will give you such and such goodies, and you just take care of this section of population for me, then that guy is quite happy, okay, he enjoys power over them. Who doesn't like to enjoy power over, say, 1 lakh people or 2 lakh people, or wherever he is, he becomes an important person himself. You just interact with him and tell them, okay, take care of them, okay, ठीक है, उनको बुलाएंगे हम, खुतबा दे देंगे जुम्मे के दिन, सब ठीक हो जाएगा, आप चिंता मत कीजिए. So that was the second mistake that was committed by our political system. In spite of that, because of the fundamental doctrinal tolerance of India, there were not very many problems till about 1980s, and it was only around 1980s when things started getting bad, and we had a series of communal riots and things. And it is again this two-nation theory, according to me, which resulted in that Shah Bano case, the famous Shah Bano case, which was, I would say, a tipping point in the history of this country. When the Constitution of India was actually violated, the guarantee of equality which have you given to your own citizens was violated, and one half of one particular section of population was given into the subjugation of the orthodox forces. And after that, I think most of it you know. I think quite a few of you would have been born around that time, how the reaction happened and all these things. So the question often comes that, in fact, that is also the topic. How do we engage with it? How do we engage with the Islamic world? That's the topic. There is one particular way in which we have been engaging that you see, and that we've seen the result. It's resulted in increasing isolation, and that it's also resulted in extremism developing in Muslims, and also as a reaction in the majority community as well. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, I don't know, you have heard of them? Anybody? सुना है आपने? बाचा खान भी बोलते हैं उनको, बाचा खान. He was leader of the northwestern frontier provinces, a Congressy, and आपको जानकर हैरत होगी कि जो पाकिस्तान आज की डेट में बना हुआ है, उसकी जो चारों प्रोविंसेस हैं, उसमें चारों में मुस्लिम लीग को मेजॉरिटी नहीं मिली थी. बलूचिस्तान तो चीफ कमिश्नर की प्रोविंस हुआ करती थी, तो वहाँ तो इलेक्शन हुए ही नहीं थे. 1946 का इलेक्शन हुआ था, उसमें ये माना जाता था, बिकॉज जिन्ना वाज डिमांडिंग दैट साहब पूरा का पूरा पंजाब और पूरा पूरा बंगाल पाकिस्तान में मिलना चाहिए. 1946 प्रोविंशियल इलेक्शंस वर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और हैरत की बात यह है कि जो प्रेजेंट पंजाब, जिसमें वेस्ट पंजाब पाकिस्तान वाला शामिल है, उसमें कांग्रेस और यूनियनिस्ट पार्टी की सरकार बनी थी. सिंध में भी मुस्लिम लीग की सरकार नहीं बन पाई थी. वो बाद में जोड़ तोड़ करके कुछ ब्रिटिश ने नॉमिनेटेड मेंबर किए और कुछ डिफेक्शंस कराए. उस वक्त ये एंटी डिफेक्शन लॉ वगैरह का कोई सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता. ये तो बहुत बाद में आया, 1980s में. उस वक्त कुछ था नहीं. तो इस तरह से करके सिंध में सरकार बनाई गई थी. और सूबा सरहद में, जिसको नॉर्थ वेस्ट फ्रंटियर प्रोविंस NWFP, और आजकल उसको खैबर पख्तूनख्वा बोलते हैं, KP, और KP में कांग्रेस की सरकार थी. जो खान अब्दुल गफ्फार खान, बादशाह खान जिनको बोलते हैं, हमारे यहाँ बादशाह बोलते हैं, वो एक्चुअली इज बादशाह खान, वहाँ के लोकल लिंगों में जिस तरह से बोलते हैं. तो बादशाह खान की सरकार थी. और जो हमारे जो मेन स्ट्रीम सूबे हैं, इन सबों में उस वक्त कम्युनल इलेक्ट्रेट हुआ करती थी. हिंदूज यूज टू वोट सेपरेटली, मुस्लिम्स यूज टू वोट सेपरेटली. रादर इट यूज टू बी मुस्लिम्स एंड नॉन मुस्लिम्स. तो मुस्लिम्स यूज टू वोट सेपरेटली. और सारे के सारे जितने आपके यूनाइटेड प्रोविंसेस, सेंट्रल प्रोविंसेस, देन बॉम्बे प्रोविंस, मद्रास प्रोविंस, जितनी भी ब्रिटिश प्रोविंसेस थी, उसमें सब में 90 to 100% सीट्स वर वन बाय मुस्लिम लीग. इसीलिए कई लोग कभी बोलते हैं कि साहब कि ये दो, पाकिस्तान वाले बोलते हैं कि साहब जिन्होंने पाकिस्तान के लिए वोट दिया वो तो आए नहीं, और हमारी ये जो सारे पंजाब और सिंध और ये सारे, इनको सबको जो है वो ग़ुलाम कर दिया पंजाबियों के. क्योंकि आजकल वहाँ भी वैसे बेसिकली इट इज़ कॉल्ड पाकिस्तान, बट बेसिकली वहाँ पंजाबियों की हुकूमत. तो अब टर्न ऑफ द मिलेनियम से वी फाइंड दैट वी हैव द स्पेक्टर ऑफ टेररिज्म एवरीवेयर. वी हैव Kashmir on the boil, and Kashmir on the boil, according to me, only because you conceded the principle of two nations in Kashmir. Had Article 370 not been there, the integration would not have been that difficult. And by granting the Article 370 and legitimizing the position which Sheikh Abdullah wanted, this problem is festered, and it would not go away because it is a very, very fertile ground for all the extreme इस्लामिक व्यूज़। इसलिए आप पाएंगे कि वहाँ पे जमात इस्लामी का जो सेक्शन यहाँ से चला गया था बाहर, अबू अला मौदूदी वाला एक फैक्शन था विच लेफ्ट इंडिया वेंट टू पाकिस्तान। तो जो जमात इस्लामी ने जो सारा इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन किया है, सो दे ड्रॉ देयर इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम द पाकिस्तानी जमात इस्लामी, नॉट फ्रॉम जमात इस्लामी हिंद। एनीवे, दैट इज़ अगेन वेरी नॉटी सिचुएशन, क्योंकि बड़ी अजीब अजीब सी बातें हैं, आप लोगों ने सुनी नहीं होंगी, लेकिन ये भी एक बड़ा एक पैराडॉक्स है कि जो सेक्शंस थे मुस्लिम्स के, शियाज एंड बरेलवीज एंड अहमदियाज, who led the Pakistan movement, and Devbandis opposed it. आज के दिन पाकिस्तान में देवबंदी इज़ द किंग और बाकी सबको काफिर कहते हैं। अब सवाल आता है कि हाउ टू डील विद दिस सिचुएशन, बिकॉज whether you like it or you don't like it, because we, I would say through negligence, allowed this situation to occur. तो एक सेक्शन जो है, जो ऑर्थोडॉक्स सेक्शन है, दे wield disproportionately large influence on the community. They enjoy power, and therefore whenever you try to integrate the larger community, they always push back. And pushing back for them is very easy, because they also control the Friday sermons, and they also control the mosques, where it is easy to indoctrinate people. In fact, people are getting fatwas even for the purpose of voting, which is a totally secular activity. So it is very easy to incite them to say कि भाई इस्लाम खतरे में, इस्लाम खतरे में, ऐसे करके. It's a very difficult issue, how to tackle it, how to engage with it. I've tried to find analogies, because Pakistan is much, much worse affected than India as far as the issue of extremism, dahshatgardi and all these things are concerned. It's there amongst us. We can see it in Kashmir happening every day. It hasn't affected the larger community for 2-3 reasons. One of them is that the Indian Muslim doesn't know Arabic, so that is an insulating factor. But as the internet spreads and as the communication spread, that also, that insulation will not remain for long. That is a worry. तो इसलिए एक मौलाना साहब ने हैं, एक जावेद अहमद गामिदी, आप लोगों ने सुना नहीं होगा, आप कभी भी इंटरनेट खोलें, यूट्यूब पे जाइए एंड वॉच दी sermons of Javed Ahmed Hamidi. I think if any Muslim is there here, anyone? Only one? आप जावेद अहमद गामिदी को अगर सुनेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि भाई क्या तौर तरीके हैं, हाउ यू कैन टैकल दी सिचुएशंस. It requires concerted effort, and first of all, it requires everyone in the political system to recognize the issue and confront the issue. अभी तो बात इस तरह की होती है एज दिस सिचुएशन डजंट एग्जिस्ट कि नहीं 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 हमारे यहाँ ऐसा नहीं है, हमारे यहाँ सब कुछ ठीक है, हमारे यहाँ सब कुछ पीसफुल है. लेकिन these are things that you see every day. मैं तो because I am in the administration, so I know what is happening in certain places. And believe me, it's not just the this bogie spread कि साहब ये सलाफी और वहाबी करते हैं, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. Nobody is immune. आपने सलमान तासीर का नाम सुना होगा. सलमान तासीर is governor of West Punjab. He was murdered by his own bodyguard. He was a Barelvi Sufi. Or when he was hanged under the penal code of Pakistan, there were large riots और अब उसकी दरगाह बनाई गई है और उस दरगाह में अभी उसकी 2-3 दिन पहले उसकी बरसी थी, उसका उर्स बनाया गया. 20, 25, 30 हज़ार लोग वहाँ इकट्ठे हुए. And as I said, at the time of partition, there were no Salafis in India. In fact, the Salafi Fikra in India, which is called Ahle Hadith, is not even 1%. The biggest majority is Barelvi, which is about 80% of Sunnis. So, Javed Ahmed Ghamidi साहब ने 3-4 चीज़ें कही हैं. I think that is also very relevant. क्योंकि साहब हर मदरसे में हमारे यहाँ पढ़ाया जाता है, which is their part of the Shariat, and shirk and kufr and irtidad, इनके खिलाफ क्या करना चाहिए. I would suggest that you watch it yourself. I think I'm already exceeding my time limit. So you watch it yourself. But the suggestions he made, that he said that the best thing to do is that the state must make sure that no child is given any religious instruction till he has finished basic education. Let him first finish the 12 years of basic education. After that, he is free. Just as when you go to medicine, you go to engineering, you first finish your basic education of 12 years. Only then you are allowed to go for engineering. So similarly, only once you finish the basic education, only then the state should allow the religious instruction, be it anyone, and any religion for that matter. The second thing that he suggested was that in Islam, the Friday sermon is the prerogative of the ruler. It should not be outsourced to the local imam, because most of what is happening is because the local imams are giving the Friday sermons, and it suits them to control their little folk, whatever they have, whether they have a congregation of 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 or a lakh. But incitement helps them to control them. So that this institution of Friday sermon in Islam is exclusively the prerogative of the ruler. It cannot be outsourced to the local imam. In Kashmir also, most of the trouble is because of these Friday sermons. In the Indian context, because we are a secular country, we have to think of a way how we are going to do it. But in Pakistan, of course, it's very easy for them because they christen themselves as an Islamic state. It should not be difficult for the state to take over the right of Friday sermons from the local mosques. So if he says that if these 2 or 3 Then third, which is very important, is that you have to build a counter narrative. You cannot let the ideas go unchallenged. Ideas are forces. Ideas are not born in vacuum, and when they are born, then they have consequences. So any idea, regressive or progressive, it has a consequence. So when you find that the ideas are emanating, which are against the interests of humanity at large, against the interests of your country, against the interests of your nation, then those ideas have to be challenged through a counter narrative. And that counter narrative, unfortunately, is not happening because most of us are not rooted in our own culture. We don't even know what the benchmark should be from which we can challenge these narratives. Anyone who wants to that narrative is first study the Indian systems first. Only then he would be able to benchmark these narratives without giving them any adjective, whatever narratives they are. If you want to challenge any narrative, whether in science or in social science, then you have to first know your position, then you have to know the position of the other person, and then you have to, after understanding the position of the other person, only then you can build a narrative. So if you remain neutral and you feel that these things will go away on your own, that's not going to happen. Sooner or later, these are things that are going to come knocking at your door. If not today, maybe 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later. It is the duty of every citizen to look after the interest of the nation. And if you want to look after the interest of the nation, then you have to challenge these narratives, and you cannot challenge it by abusing the other person. You can challenge it only by understanding the other person. एक कविता है रामधारी सिंह दिनकर की, वो मैं बोल के ख़त्म करता हूँ. समर शेष है नहीं पाप का भागी केवल व्याघ्र, जो तटस्थ हैं समय लिखेगा उनका भी अपराध. तो तटस्थ मत रहिए.
When engaging with Islam world, one of the first references that I borrow when I speak about Islam from Arun Shari's books on the same. Arun Shari and Rahul's academic work on the religion and its leaders, so to speak. So when you said the Maulans and Maulvis, they have outsourced the work of for managing the population of the Maulans and Maulvis, it reminds me of the word of written by Arun Shari, where he presents a pretty deep picture of what might come. He used the case of Egypt, etc., as a warning for us of what might happen to us. So, in fact, you mentioned that the Salafis are a very minuscule part of the population when we initially became independent. So, now they are a very considerably huge segment of the Muslim population in India. From what I can say, at least in southern India, they are. So my question is related to that. So the question is, how do we control the growth of the Salafis in India?
See, you or me cannot control this growth. Okay, let's be very clear on this. First of all, the Salafis are not more than 1%. And what are Salafis and what are Hanafis and what are your Malikis and Shafis? That you to understand, because in Islamic fiqh or fiqra as they call it, there are 5 major schools among Sunnis and 2 major schools among Shias. And anyone who grows up as a child indoctrinated in that particular system, it's very difficult for him to come out, because everything, I mean, you would probably know that from the way a prayer is conducted, from the way you fold your hands, from the way you raise your uh, hands and cover your ears or whatever. Everything is so minutely laid out that it is very difficult for a person to migrate from one fikra to another. Salafis are basically what is called Hanbalis. I don't know whether it is making sense to any one of you. Or,
Different schools of Islamic
yeah,
jurisprudence.
the different schools of Islamic jurisprudence. In fact, the good thing in India is that 99% of Muslims are not aware of it. Are you? 99. It used to be 99.9. Now it's about 99. So in India, it is still not difficult to challenge Maulana and Maulvis. The only thing is that the most of us have our own guilt complex, and we don't want to do it because we think that their sensitivities and their sensibilities would be affected. Otherwise, it is you would probably realize, I mean, there's a program which comes, that's Fateh Ka Fatwa, Tariq Fateh will see, and there is a large raging debate on various issues concerning Muslims. You tell me, the television has been around now for almost 60 years. 1958 was the first telecast. Almost 60 years, and private television has been around for a good 30 years. Why hasn't this kind of a program done by an Indian ever, Hindu or Muslim or Christian or Parsi? That is because we ourselves suffer from that little guilt. Okay, यार इससे बात करेंगे तो यार इसको बुरा तो नहीं लग जाएगा यार, शायद बात करो तो आपको पता लगे कि नहीं, वो तो खुद बात करने के लिए तरस रहा है कि यार कोई ये इस तरह की सिचुएशन है, यार मेरे तो घर पे भी बात नहीं होती है, ये मौलाना मौलवी चिल्लाते रहते हैं, मुझे कुछ समझ भी नहीं आ रहा। शायद कोई बात करे तो वो भी खुल के सामने है, आप बात ही नहीं करते। जब बात ही नहीं करोगे और अपने आप को अलग रखोगे, आज तारिक फतेह ने ये सब शुरू किया तो सारे मौलाना मौलवी जो है वो अपने पिंजरों से निकल के आ गए ना। यू नो एवरीबॉडी, नाउ एवरीबॉडी नोज हाउ दे टॉक। This is something that was known only to very few people like us once in the administration. We know how they talk behind closed doors and how they talk in front of us. We know this, but 99% of population doesn't know. Now you know, because somebody from Canada who's been thrown out of Pakistan has come here and is doing this kind of a program. No Salafi was there in India when India was partitioned. This is what I said. I said that. Why did India get partitioned? Two-nation theory was not devised by the Salafis. So this artificial construct that it is the Salafism which is increasing is absolutely wrong. This virus is present in everyone. It is present among Hanfis. It is present among Shias. What was Muhammad Ali Jinnah? He was a Shia. No, Owaisi is not a Shia. He's a Barelvi. He's a Barelvi Sunni, which is also called the Sufis. There is also this great, I think, what is called misunderstanding among people that Sufis are very peaceful people. They may be following certain customs which are native to this land, but they were in the forefront of the partition riots. They were the ones who started the riots in Pakistan, which had a reaction here. So let's not use these kind of omnibus theories that okay, this is Salafis who are doing it. Salafi, how many Salafis are there? Not even 1%. I would say not even 0.1%. मैं तो खोज रहा था जयपुर में कि भाई कोई सलफी मस्जिद मिले, बड़ी मुश्किल से एक मिली, जाके उसमें 10 लोग आते थे।
स्वराज मैगजीन के ऑफिस के बगल में एक बहुत बड़ा मंदिर है, जो वहाँ भी so you should see the old mosques in Shivaji Nagar area of Bangalore. People don't go there anymore. They travel all the way from Shivaji Nagar to Silk Road area where the office is, where this Wahhabi mosque is a very giant mosque. Such mosques I found in Chennai, I found Hyderabad, even right on the number of mosques, there, such kind of Wahhabi. Even in Mysore, my city, I have, from my count, there are 3 such mosques in the Muslim ghetto area, while one in the old Muslim ghetto area. So it is not that it is not spreading from this particular one.
I don't know whether any one of you can recognize a Salafi practice from a Hanafi practice. I don't really know. So just because there is a competition among various sects, among Barelvis there is a competition among various silsilas. सूफियों के सिलसिले होते हैं, उनमें सिलसिलों में there is a lot of competition. And one silsila, for instance, in Bareilly, जो आपके ये अहमद रजा बरेलवी का जो है आपका बरेलवी में आपके रजवीज और सकलैनीज में बड़ा कंपटीशन चल रहा है. तो देयर इज ऑलवेज कंपटीशन कि साहब हम इतनी बड़ी मॉस्क बनाएंगे, फिर देन देयर इज अ कंपटीशन कि हम ज़्यादा लोग बनाएंगे. देन हमारे करस्पॉन्डेंट साहब गए और उन्होंने रिपोर्ट करी वहाँ पे कि साहब कि यहाँ पे एक सलफ़ी मॉस्क जो है वो हो रही है और वहाँ पे सब लोग जा रहे हैं. इट टर्न आउट इट वाज अ सकलैनी मॉस्क. आपको तो ये नहीं पता. अब आप बताइए, चलिए शिया और सुन्नी नमाज में क्या फ़र्क है? कोई बता सकता है यहाँ? शिया और सुन्नी नमाज में क्या फ़र्क है? इनको नहीं पता. तो जब इनको नहीं पता शिया और सुन्नी नमाज में क्या फ़र्क है, मैं बिल्कुल मानने को तैयार नहीं हूँ कि आप हनफी और सलाफी में डिस्टिंग्विश कर सकते हैं. Maybe it's another Barelvi mosque which is trying to draw people from there and is much bigger. It's got funding. This competitive religiosity also spoils the atmosphere. But that's what I am saying, that unless you understand it, आप समझेंगे नहीं तो आप काउंटर नहीं कर सकते. एक अभी आर्टिकल आया था आपकी, या सब यहाँ पे पूरा सलाफिज्म फैल गया है और ऐसे हो रहा है वैसे हो रहा है. आई काउंटर दैट पर्सन. हाउ डू यू नो दैट सलाफिज? Ultimately, he had to revise his this thing, and he found in the whole of West Bengal, he found one Salafi mosque. Damn funny. And that guy is educated in Deoband. I still have doubt. देवबंद में सलाफी नहीं पढ़ाते ना, तो देवबंदी पढ़ाते हैं, वो तो हनफी हैं.
So I think I'll hand over the audience questions. Anyone?
Sir, firstly, I would like to appreciate the way you address the problem without, using language or anything kind of lines that may affect or hurt any.
Don't be afraid to offend. If you want to actually correct, you can offend me, you can offend anyone.
Sir, my bottom point.
Freedom of expression है यहाँ पे. We are not sitting in JNU.
Sir, I see among some of the problems that we face with so actually I hail from Calcutta. There's about 30% of the population of only Calcutta is now comprising of Muslims.
I did college in Calcutta. Okay, so we are at one page.
Yes, sir. You do know of Kidarpur and
I know very well.
So you do know how hostile the environment tends to get.
I know it from the time of Vinod Mehta.
So you can actually see a lot of words coming from me. Sir, recently it came out with news that about 60% of the population of Malta has turned to Islam. This has also happened due to the immigrants coming from Bangladesh. Very heavily, thanks to the support of one of the greatest ladies of women ever born, Mamta Banerjee. Sir, there's no doubt they heavily comprise of a vote bank. And so the rest of the 40% people living in Bengal, the native Hindus and Bengali Hindus, they are not allowed to burn their own dead bodies out there. Sir, you are not allowed, you are not being allowed to practice our own religion. And secondly, sir, places like you do know about parks, park circus and all these places, right?
I know park circus.
Where the population density is very high. Like the only thing good about that place is the biryani.
Right?
The only thing good about that place is the biryani that you can get. So let's not deviate from the topic, my bad. Sir, point is the law and order goes for a very big toss out there. People can get killed, and literally that cannot. There's a very strong chance that it may not even come out in the news. It's very risky for a person walking out in that environment, and did face these issues. So with the politics, my point is with the politics being so heavily on the side of certain radicalists. No, I'm not pointing fingers at a particular religion. My point is that there are certain radicalists who let these things happen and who are responsible for this. My question is, how do you counter this kind of issue? Because Bengal is suffering very heavily. The economy is actually facing quite a few issues because of the law and order that is going for a toss. Eco Park was supposed to be a brilliant project, but due to the population density becoming very strong out there, the tourists do not feel very safe out there also. Other places in Calcutta face the same problem. Tourist destinations become difficult. The governance itself is terrible. So there's like, so what kind of? I'm a non-Bengali staying in Calcutta. Also, I'm a non-Muslim. Me to have any business going on, if I'm a Sikh or a Marwari or anyone, it is next to impossible. So what do you suggest as a person or as an individual should I do, or like should the government do to take care of these kind of issues?
Okay, I'll attempt it because it's it has political connotations as well. So basically, you are only amplifying the point that I made in the beginning, that when you outsource certain sections to certain category of people, in case of Mamata Banerjee, she's outsourced the non-Bengali origin Muslim population to Barkati, right? Barkati, Imam Barkati. See, there you have the Bihari Muslims and you have the Bengali Muslims. Okay, so the Bihari Muslims were outsourced to Barkati, and what he does, you've seen him. He was the person who said that you would be beheaded. He told Tarak Fateh that I would behead you. That that is not unusual. Why it is not unusual? Because it is there in the Shariat. Shirk, kufr, irtitad or gunah, gustakhi, these are all punishable by death, and anybody can, that duty is cast upon every Muslim according to Shariat. So if somebody starts preaching Shariat in India, then this is what is going to happen. This is what is happening in Pakistan. In Pakistan, when you have these terrorist attacks, and how these people getting indoctrinated. This is how in Pakistan what is happening. In every madrasa, this is taught. What I am telling you. And as I told you that about 50% of the enrollment is in madrasas. So they teach this to all these young children. In India,
I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but that what were the meanings of the words that you said before Gustaki? Because I didn't get it.
shirk is idolatry, murti puja. Kufr is unbelief, not believing in Islam. Irtidad is apostasy, leaving Islam. Okay, and gustakhi is blasphemy,
There's also a word for innovation.
bid'ah,
Bidah.
biddat,
In innovation in interpretation is a crime.
biddat. Not everywhere.
In some schools,
In some schools, not in every school.
except
Biddat is a crime among Salafis, but not among Hanafis, because Hanafis talaq e biddat to hai na. What is triple talaq? Is it talaq e biddat? So in Hanafis, biddat is not a crime, but Shias and Salafis, they tout it as a crime. So this is taught in Pakistan in every madrasa. In India, it is controlled because all the madrasas which get aid and which are, I think, more than 90%, they have to follow the prescribed curriculum. When you follow the prescribed curriculum, then for maths and science, it's very difficult to get Muslim teachers. So it becomes a kind of a multicultural kind of a system. So the it is difficult to impart the system. That's why you'll find that all the people who joined ISIS from India, which is in per capita terms the least in the entire world, they are none of them is from a madrasa. You understand the difference between Pakistan and India? I'm just trying to explain. But if Barkati kind of a situation persists, then this could become current in India as well. And I think Bengal is pushing back. I mean, you had this Tapash Ghosh kind of Tapan Ghosh. It is pushing back, and this pushback will come from the people only. After all, ultimately, the people have to rise up. If if 70% people are electing a government in the democracy, in a democracy, that is supposed to be uh, a nod of consent to whatever she is doing. She got, I think, about almost 50% of vote. Though I didn't complete the points that I was making, what is happening in Pakistan, I was telling you. This there in that Javed Ghamidi YouTube thing. You can just share it. And the second thing that is taught to everybody is that the uh, the only proper government for Muslims is the Khilafat, the Caliphate. The third thing that is taught to them that every non-Muslim is born to be a slave of Muslims. And the fourth thing that is taught to them is that the modern nation state and democracy is kufr. So it becomes very easy. In fact, the madrasas in Pakistan, they were designed in the late 1970s to become some kind of a feeder system for Afghan jihad. So after the Afghan jihad was over, the whole system is continued, and now they are feeding jihadis. I mean, I'm just assuming that you know the difference between these terms. There's a difference between Islam and Islamism and jihadism. They cannot be used interchangeably. So, but that hasn't happened in India. That hasn't happened in India because of various reasons, but there is no guarantee that it will not happen. That is why I say that the price of liberty is eternal surveillance, eternal vigilance. Eternal vigilance is the price that you pay for liberty. Freedom is not free. Freedom comes at a cost, and ultimately, it is the citizenry which is going to guard the freedom. If you depend exclusively on the government or the politicians, they are heavily invested into the system. They are looking only at the next elections most of the time. There are very few people who are having a long-term vision.